Hi everyone, it's Clyde, and I said I was going to do a recap and review of the entirety of the Smallville series, so here we go. So I did a recap and a review of every single season, all 10 seasons, and this is my third time watching the show entirely. So if you haven't checked out those videos, you should check them out now before you watch this. I just thought it was good now coming back after doing all these to like do one about the show entirely. It took me like 2 months to watch the final season, and I talked specifically more about in that video why, and because it was a bad season, and I'll probably talk about it here as well. But I'm trying to think, like the other seasons, like I would watch like in 2 weeks because they were just so good. And I'm trying to think, when did I start this? Like, did I start it in 2020? No, I think I still started in 2023. I don't even know. Did I start it in 2022? Does anyone know? I should know this, but I don't. So this is like such a good show. It's such a good show. And you know, you hear it's like a superhero show, I guess, but it's so different like than superhero shows that are made nowadays. And I feel like shows made nowadays are even different than they were made 10 years ago, let's say, when there was all those superhero shows. But I feel like this is even before that, because a lot of the superhero shows, they were adults, and it was very different dynamic. This is about, you know, Superman, like it starts when he's in high school, and just kind of like he doesn't have all his abilities at once, so he's like kind of like growing up, like, you know, you see him like growing up and like becoming a man. I don't know, I feel like I'm not saying it correctly, but you're like seeing him, like you're seeing some evolution, like it's, oh my god, what, coming of age a little bit. Like there's some coming of age elements where he's like dealing with all those coming of age things, like a lot of those, because okay, so let's say like a lot of teen shows were like really big in the early 2000s, so it felt like it's a teen show combined with superhero shows, where like you really only see like teen shows and superhero shows, but it's not like a combination of both of them. And I feel like that was especially, I mean, it was, you know, they could have just had Superman, you know, when he's in his 20s and start from there, but they wanted to start when he's in high school. And like I really like that, and wish they did more shows like that, or maybe they do and I just don't know about them. I feel like a lot of their acting choices were really great. Like Michael Rosenbaum, like he literally is the best Lex Luthor like ever. Like he was just so good at the role. And it's like Michael, like who he is, because I've watched like his podcast or whatever, like who he is completely different than Lex Luthor, and that's how you know he's a good actor. But just like the way that he like speaks, and the way he like walks into a room, like that Lex Luthor, it's like I feel like Tom Welling was also the perfect Clark Kent. Like I know it was down to him and Jensen Ackles, and I think they made the right choice with him being Tom Welling, because, you know, I love Jensen Ackles, but I don't know if you would have been right for Superman. And, you know, they brought him in for season 4, and not really sure with, I mean, whatever, I don't know. But yeah, I think Tom Welling was really great at Superman. Obviously there's been more like Supermans in history than Lex Luthor, and so I feel like, I don't know, like I feel like someone else could have also played the role, like, but he was just like so great as, he like was like Clark Kent. And like, even though I'm saying like, oh yeah, someone else could have played that part, like he like he's my greatest Clark Kent, I guess, like my favorite Clark Kent. And also Kristen Stewart as Lana Lang was like perfect casting, and she was just like also so amazing in the role. Like those three were the top three. You know, Erica as Lois Lane, like she was perfect in the role, like favorite Lois Lane as well. But you know, that one, it didn't hit as much because she came in later in the show, but like she was perfect. But like I feel like those three really made the show. Clark, Lex, and Lana, they were the show, they were the tie, they were the glue, what am I saying? And so that's why I feel like season 4 to season 6 were like the greatest seasons of Smallville. And the whole like love triangle dynamic is like, was just like really great. And obviously not what happened to them, but like the whole thing about it was so great. And I definitely feel like when Lex and Lana left the show after season 7, like that's when the show started to thing. But I feel like it still was kind of strong in season 8 and season 9, and as I said in my season 10 video, like season 10 was god awful. But like, I don't think it's like, then do you like end the show because like Lex and Lana are leaving? Because in the end, like season 7 wasn't as good because it was like, what do we do now with their storylines? Like they were, I think they were like struggling a little bit. And so it was kind of this thing where like, it was time for them to leave the show. Like it was time for them to leave the show, but like, how do you keep the show going? And like, she just ended because those 2 characters leaving, because like, it's like Tom was like, I want to leave the show, like they would have to end the show, like you know. But it was like, those are like the next 2 top characters, so it's like, I guess you can keep the show going because they had other characters. And you know Clark is supposed to end with Lois, you know. Anyway, it's not like Lois was like, I'm leaving the show, or you know. So it's like, you know, it makes sense they keep going, but like maybe only 1 or 2 seasons, like, but it's like 10 is a good number. So it's like a hard thing to deal with, because like really when they left the show, like the show went tipped off. I feel like in the early seasons they try to keep it very more innocent, and I don't know if they just like weren't sure like the tone of it. So, like no one was dying, no one was killed really in like the first season, and then it kind of picked up where they were like, okay, like let's make it like people die and people be killed, and so you see that more. Of course they never changed that in Clark's. I think they were also was really good is they did the dynamic about like I feel like sometimes when you're watching these shows, you're like, okay, like someone's good and someone's bad, but like why? And so it just, they did a good job of showing how each one was raised, the comparisons between Clark and Lex, because Clark was raised in a loving environment where they were wanted. They wanted to have a son. They taught him, you know, good values, and they really enriched that a little bit too much, because sometimes they'd be like, Clark would be like too good, or like, I have to be good, I can't kill anyone. And it's like, calm down, like you're a good person, like you're just a little bit too much. And so then you also see in comparison to Lex how he's raised, about how his like dad raised him like, you'll never be good enough, you need to work harder, all this stuff. And so like how that comparisons, but it's crazy because at the beginning they are friends, but sometimes when you're deep down, like those values you have or the environment you were raised, like they come to fruition. And so you got to see that as they went away. I mean, the whole like Lex and Lana thing is kind of crazy, and I feel like I don't know when they planned it, but you know, they're very good because they knew they had multiple seasons, so they were able to implement things in different moments. I mean, they did that with Lois and Clark too, where they were able to like make their relationship like build over time and be great, because they had so many seasons to play with. And so I think they did that with Lex and Lana as well, where they were able to have like, they started in season 4 with like little moments where you can see like, okay, maybe Lex has feelings for her, and then you see it, you know, obviously blossom way more in season 5. But I mean, in the end, like it was like something where like he just like wanted what Clark had, and so you kind of saw that. And then, you know, he's done the most villainous thing I've ever heard of, where he like gave her hormones to make her think she's pregnant so that she would marry him, and then took the hormones away once they were married so she thinks she's a miscarriage. Like, I think that was the most villainous thing I've ever seen in my entire life, I swear to God. So it's just like really crazy, and that's like actually like really, really dark, and they didn't like talk about it that much. Like I'm sure Clark, like she told Clark, or like they eventually found out, but like I feel like it was just so dark. I'm like, who decided that in the writers' room? Because it is crazy. I do have a controversial thing to say that I didn't really notice that much my first 2 times watching it, but I definitely noticed this time, and I wanted to bring it up. I hate to say it because I love Clark and Lois and I feel like they're great together, but it did feel like this time watching it that it really only happened because Lana was gone. And I don't know, like it just kind of felt that way, and it felt a little bit forced in some natures. Even though there's so many seasons, like where the relationship was building over time, it just felt like he was sad because there was no one there. Lana's gone, and like this is the only other woman in his life. And I know this is gonna be so controversial, and I'm gonna get so much hate for saying it, but that's how I felt. Yeah, I mean, like, because you see like them, Lana is gone after season 7, and you start to see like, okay, maybe something happened, but as soon as she comes back, like for a couple episodes in season 8, like he's with her, and it's like, who cares about Lois, like, you know? So it's just like, I feel like I wish like them to like actually like have something more when she was still on the show, and maybe that's what they were hoping for, and then like Kristen wanted to leave the show, but it just kind of felt like this time like like, it really just happened because Lana's gone. Like, Lana was like his love, and there was such a passionate love, and despite all the boyfriends she had, or all the time, and like even when she was with Lex, like Clark was still longing for her, wanting to be with her, and then it's just kind of like Lois was there for convenience. Like, this is gonna sound so controversial, but like that's how it felt. But I feel like this show, like the episodes are still so good, and I highly suggest this, and I'm sure I'm gonna watch it again in like a year or two, and maybe I'll do like a recap or review of every single episode, which is crazy because there's 10 seasons, but you know, someone said in my comments, like one person in the comment was like, I will watch all those videos, so we'll see if it happens. But I just feel like the show is like really great show, and I feel like it's good, as I said, for multiple reasons, because you know, it's like a coming of age, like a teen show, and combined with a superhero show. And I just feel like, I mean, not season 10, but like every other season, like every episode's really interesting, you know, everything, you know, it's so intriguing in the storylines, and it's really crazy too what they go through. So, you know, hopefully you guys watch it. And you know, this is, if you haven't watched the show, hopefully this makes you want to watch the show. And sorry again for my controversial opinions for some things, but I'm gonna end this here. So thank you guys for watching. It's come to an end, the Smallville recap and review, but you know, life is short and there's always time to pick up other things with Smallville. And I'm sure we'll talk about here and whatever else. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.